Hey, good morning, Greg J. Coffee Conversations with Greg J is on. Yeah, raining cats and dogs, as they say out here. California atmospheric river deciding to dump all over us in Southern California. Shout out to my folks up in Northern California. We know you've been going through it up there. A lot going on. There's folks out there in the rural areas in particular. You're having to live on generators and hoping that the flooding does not overtake your properties. Atmospheric river, what does that look like in the sky? Like, right? Can you see it? Is that just a ton of water traveling in the sky? And then when the atmospheric pressure reaches a certain low point, then that manifests itself as rain, like what we're seeing on today and what we've been seeing over the last couple of months, really, right? It's an interesting time, interesting weather patterns that are happening all across the nation. I know folks that are back east, you're up to your follicles in snow, cold weather, nor'easters. That's man, a lot going on and weather-wise in the United States of America. So stay safe out there. You know, if you have to get out, just drive carefully. But if not, shelter in place. We know how to do that now. They gave us plenty of practice over the last 3 years. So maybe you need to shelter in place just to be safe in this rainy season time. I'm just coming today. I won't be before you very long. Just a few contemplations on my mind today as it just pours down rain outside. That means we'll be locked to our computers getting work done. A lot of exciting things in the future, in the coming future. Just in the very few weeks, we'll be making several different announcements. And hopefully you'll find them interesting enough to come and check out, to participate, to taste, to just all of it, all of your senses. Come and check out what we're doing here at the Hannibal Media Group inside the Dream Creator Studio. First quarter is coming to an end. First quarter of the year in business, we tend to think of the year in quarters. And as I was just reflecting, my natural mindset goes to the first quarter is coming to an end at the end of March. And what have we done in the first quarter? And when I look at it and I write it down and I take into stock, take the inventory of everything that we've done here at the Dream Creator Studio, it's a lot. We have been absolutely busy. We started the year out in Ghana. We didn't come back from Ghana until mid-January. So the year was already in swing when we came back to these United States. Took us a minute to get acclimated to be back. And not too sure we're not totally acclimated yet. It still feels a little different. We were there, month and a half. You saw a lot of our different, content that we recorded and prepared on that side. Sometimes we went live. Other times we just took the content and we prepared it. And, little by little, you're seeing it come out across our social media platforms. Thank you so much if you're doing that. Tell a friend all about it. We're continuing to share and build these bridges of music, arts, and culture with Africa and African Americans. That's what was happening. We started out in Ghana. I was looking at a video last night, spent the new year on the balcony of our apartment in Accra, Ghana, welcoming in the new year and listening to the firecrackers and the reveling that was going on as 2023 made its entrance into our consciousness. Arrived here mid-January, hit the ground running because we were also working remotely while we were in Ghana. We were heavy in production for the city of Inglewood's Martin Luther King Day Parade and festival. Got rained out, of course, so we had to postpone it until Black History Month. That brought its own set of work and challenges and all of that there, but we were able to pull it off anyway. We had a great time out on the streets of Inglewood in February for the Black History Month Martin Luther King Festival. It was a great day of unity and community. Yes, we had to catch it between the dry parts because it's been raining like crazy. We were rained out for Martin Luther King, but the rain kept coming. So when it was time to do our uh, postponed event in February, the rain it was in the week before and came the week after. We got a reprieve, if you will, just long enough for us to build the stage, put the booths on the street, and have a great time of community unity, peace, and love in the city of Inglewood. And in the meantime, we were also planning for Black History Month an art exhibit in downtown Long Beach. And inside of the art exhibit, we were happy to present our Celebrating Black Excellence award ceremony. Really, really fine event on that day. Thank you if you came through the Loiter Galleries, which is in downtown Long Beach, to view the work of our very high end Black artists that we presented. One thing that I notice is, African American artists oftentimes don't get, opportunities to display their work in gallery settings. I certainly want to be a strong voice to be able to provide visual artists with a platform to share their work with the public. You'll see a lot more art showings coming from the Hannibal Media Group. Not, sometimes in Long Beach, but certainly all over Southern California is where we will plan to have our different art exhibitions and our art experiences. I am the board president currently of the Arts Council for Long Beach, which makes me an arts advocate, always been an arts advocate. Maybe sometimes didn't even know it as we built stages, the performing arts, as we intersected with people like Wendy Raquel Robinson and the Amazing Grace Performing Arts Conservatory. And there's so many other entities, Lula, Washington, right? Entities across Southern California where I participated, was able to help with support, whether it's through media or maybe it's financial or maybe it's promotion, awareness, whatever it is. It's all been all about, advocating for the arts because we do believe that arts is an essential service to us as we recover, to us as we live, to us as we live and breathe with, especially within our community. So keep supporting the arts. That's what it's all about. It's essential time. And what's important inside of that chapter, inside of that topic, is that we have to tell our own stories. This is what we are really all about here at the Dream Creator Studio, Hannibal Media Group, Beach City Radio, Beach City Perspective. All of the stuff that is evolving out of our camp really is predicated on two things. Number one, the mantra that says, hey, we have to tell our own stories. Can't let others tell our stories for us. Inevitably, they will get it wrong or the narrative will be twisted in a way that shows one group superior over another. Therefore, we have to be the author of our own history, the author of our own stories. The whole controversy, I guess, if Angela Bassett not winning her award for her role in the second Black Panther, it's got a lot of people talking. But at the same time, you know what? We're telling our own stories, and maybe we need to honor our own. It's oftentimes we're working too hard to be accepted by others when we're just as educated, when we are just as in tune, when we are just as entitled to the same accolades, But yet, there's always forces out there that, like they used to say, they want our rhythm, they don't want our blues, right? Tell our own stories. That's what we're all about there. I've been thinking about a story of hip hop, and we've already done part one. We're going to continue the series next week. Maybe even if I can get everything done today, maybe even Thursday's show will go on to part two. And we want to just have an explanation or exploration of hip hop from a West Coast perspective. It's the 50th year of hip hop. I know that in Long Beach, where we're located, this is where our home base is. There's a lot of conversation about Long Beach and its contribution to hip hop history. It's an interesting subject matter for me because when I look across those who may be pushing this narrative of trying to create the story of hip hop from a Long Beach perspective, I don't see people who were there. I I just don't see it. And while I'm not a rapper, I was a young executive when hip hop hit our streets, hit our industry. I was there. The last time I came before folks and I said, look, I was in the room, there was a certain person that got kind of upset. But I only said I was in the room because I had perspective that could greatly contribute to the mission at hand. And the mission at hand is to the betterment of our community. And if you know anything about Greg J, I am always about the betterment of our community. I'm always about our people. Do or die, I'm there trying to uplift and be about our people, sharing information, being out there, being of service. This is built a whole career in, on this. This is ministry. It is all about being about culture and uplifting our culture, which otherwise would be silent. But back to hip hop. Well, you know, I worked at a national network that targeted African American consumer market. At the time, we were the largest and the best doing it in our industry. And at the time, we were at the leading edge of every music and cultural fashion trend, movies, film, the whole essence of Black American culture came through those doors. That includes hip hop, rap. I watched it come. I went to the showcases. I'm a founding member of an organization called Committee for Excellence in Black Music, which myself, Jerry Davis, who then in those days was the director of Black Music for ASCAP, one of the major performing rights organizations. We got together with others to form the Committee for Excellence in Black Music because we were concerned that rap music was blowing up and it was really seeming like it was going to be a thing. There were many who thought it was just a fad, but we were like, maybe not. But what we did notice is that the young people getting signed to these major labels were not getting their fair shake, not understanding what they had signed, not being prudent and businesslike about the resources that they gained by signing a record contract. And so we formed the Committee for Excellence in Black Music to be an education arm for the young people coming into the rap game. We held symposiums and conferences all up and down the West Coast, here in Los Angeles, all the way up there north at on the campus of UC Berkeley. We had professors, we had lawyers, we had attorneys, we had publishing executives, we had rich minds on our dais to share with the young people the ins and outs of the music business. On the radio side, at the network I worked at, I was one of the committee that created the country's first nationally syndicated hip hop radio show. We formed our own chart. We formed strategic alliances with noted trade magazines like The Gavin Report, source our underground newspapers published our during a time when commercial radio did not play misogynistic. They couldn't find the melody. It wasn't modern enough program directors. There were some stations, especially in the LA market, that were lit with promo saying, "We'll never play music that integrates our women." And that promo, I wrote 2 articles about this very interesting paradigm that were published. One in the and the other one I think was BRE. They took my words and gave me a little bit of editorial as I began to advocate for rap music to be certainly advocating to stop, and advocating for programmers to begin to look at rap music in a different light. Is very, very, this is the history. I was there. About lyrical content in those days, we also had a lot of Black consciousness rap. You had Public Enemy, you had KR, Otis. I mean, you had so many rappers, right, coming out speaking about consciousness. And so, there are those who began to appear at our showcases, at our events and everything. Them, it was obvious who they were. They showed up at the spot looking for the next best thing to sign. And the next best thing began to be, the gangster rap. And unfortunately, that's what became the predominant expression of hip hop culture through rap, was the gangster rap. Fast forward to now, you are hard pressed to hear any consciousness rap music. It's pornography and hypersexualization and what kind of gun you got. I mean, it's this is by design that this incredibly damaging music lyricism is pushed out to the front. And we, especially Black males, are pushed out across the world as an image of thuggery and criminality and pimping and all that kind of stuff. And gone are the messages of consciousness, at least gone from the mainstream. They're out there, right? You can go Spotify. The ways you discover music now makes it a little bit more easier to find lyrics that empower, that inspire, that lift us up as a people. But in the main, on the radio, is not there. That's probably a whole nother subject matter, right? I would like to remind those that may come across this coffee conversation, who may be involved in the whole sharing or developing or curating hip hop, especially from a local perspective. I think you should go into this with twofold. My recommendations to y'all would be to really take this project with a couple of things in mind. Number one, hip hop is a culture. So when you say hip hop, you say the dance, breakdancing. In our region, it would have been the pop locking, what do they call it, snapping, right? Pop locking, all those things. Remember Fred Berry, all that. Okay, that's that's the dance. Graffiti writing. So this is an interesting paradigm for me. The graph writing in those days was an expression, and it was very underground, and it was very criminal. But it evolved in a significant part of hip hop culture because, artists were putting magnificent pieces out there on subway trains, on, the side of abandoned buildings and all that. And sometimes you would come across some really exceptional art. Why? Because in the hood, this is their only outlet, is to find a vacant building somewhere and paint that which is planted within their artistic soul. It is very interesting understanding the birthplace of this and how much of a nuisance it was considered to be, to now understanding that there's this whole fine arts category called public art. There's this thing that was just in Long Beach called the Powwow, or now what's it called? Long Beach Walls. I know at the Arts Council for Long Beach, a significant part of that organization's portfolio is public art. They're advocating for public art. They're pushing for public art. They're commissioning for public art. There's a movement now where we're trying to get folks to understand that over time, there really needs to be municipal attention paid to the maintenance and repair of the beautiful pieces of public arts. They're now murals. And, hey, back in the day it was graph writing. In fact, that there are still people in communities, and I'm going to do a video about this. There are people in communities that write off the beautiful public art, the beautiful murals, as just another form of graffiti. In their mind, that's what it is. This is graffiti. So that when you have these neighborhoods that want beautification, that agree that, a mural could help beautify their community, there are voices out there that look at that and say, that's just graffiti. I don't want it. It encourages a certain type of person, the stereotypical criminal type. These people don't want that in their community because they don't see a piece of public art as art. They see it as graffiti. Now let's make a contrasting example. Have you heard of the artist Basquiat, Jean-Claude Basquiat, Basquiat? You can look him up if you're not familiar with him, but his art pieces are some of the most expensive in the world. Basquiat was a graph artist in the Soho section of New York City. His pieces would appear on abandoned walls and all that, and his name was on there. He became famous in the graph artist community. Drugs and street life took him away from us way too soon, but nowadays his paintings, his pieces, his art pieces, his graffiti are selling for 60, 70, 80 million dollars in the art collector's realm. Now we see beautiful murals across these cities, across our communities, where, man, the art is exquisite. People are going out of their way to protect it and to preserve it. Public art used to be graffiti art, is now a formal segment of the arts world. This is hip hop culture. Lastly, in the culture, fashion. Man, what can be said about fashion? It's who you're wearing. Back in the day, remember cross colors. You had Carl Kanai jeans. Just all the different fashion designers that were influenced by the hip hop community, who came out with, multi-million-dollar brands, FUBU, just on and on and on. I think it could be said that Skechers, Converse, Timberlands, they all benefited from hip hop culture. These are brands in fashion. Timberlands are still popular. Got to have your Timbs if you're a B-boy or a B-girl, right? I see y'all still wearing them out there. That's back in the day. Yeah. In West Coast, we had Chucks. Chuck Taylor Converse. Been doing that since before hip hop, but that is a symbol of West Coast. It's so interesting to all of you ladies out there who esteem our vice president, the vice president of the United States, Kamala Harris. I saw y'all got your pearls and your chucks. You know, for me, that was definitely a profound representation of West Coast culture. She came with, I'm rolling in my chucks. That's what Kamala Harris said. West Coast. That's what she said. Yeah, khakis, right? Hip hop culture. So that's fashion. Rap is the music. Hip hop is the culture. Rap is the music. Let me say that again for y'all in the back. Hip hop is the culture. Rap is the music. So what we see coming out of Long Beach, LA, you know, it's rap music. And the rap music that came out of these regions is, you know, the gangster rap is the predominant form. It explodes on the scene, you know, in a large way in the 80s, sort of late 70s, but more like the 80s during the crack epidemic. So you're hearing Toddy T rapping about Batarang. You're hearing Mixmaster Spade sing his raps, but he's rapping about, you know, the drug trade. Rodney O. Joe Cooley, you know, these are the pioneers of West Coast rap. When Long Beach comes along, then you have G-Funk. It's a revolutionary sound, very synthesizer driven, taking its cues from funk music. Understand that funk in Southern California is a thing. Roger and Zapp, Funkadelic. I mean, yes, big everywhere else across the United States, no question about it, but essential. You hear me? Essential in California culture. California culture also equals car culture. So James Brown, right? You're hearing the licks of James Brown, the funk master himself, right? You know, more bounce to the ounces in the skating rinks. You know, it's the licks of funk are essential to the fabric of West Coast music style, especially when rap music comes along. Those who become wildly popular are those who integrate the synthesizer sounds into their music, the synthesizer licks and phrases that there are inside of funk songs, let alone the one. Okay, you know, you got to have the one, right? Yeah, that's the thing. But when we begin to dissect the compositions which make up West Coast hip hop, when you begin to dissect the compositions which make up West Coast hip hop or West Coast rap music, especially coming out of Long Beach, when Long Beach emerges. So it's Warren G, right? You know, Snoop Dogg, of course, he's the king of it because he's the biggest artist, but it's a collaboration of not only Long Beach, but it's Compton, right? And it's because Long Beach, Black Long Beach, and Compton and Watts are adjacent. So the neighborhoods are intertwined, the cultures are intertwined right there. And so you have a whole segment, a whole new sound manifesting itself in that G Funk sound. It catches on. And at this time, you're also talking about radio entering into the game. Remember, I mentioned earlier that radio, um, we didn't have radio when it first came out. Hip hop or rap music lived on college radio stations. Matter of fact, as I mentioned, when we created our chart for the first nationally syndicated hip hop radio show, we fashioned our reporting panel. Uh, we made it up of prominent college radio DJs across the country. This was our panel, This was who was sharing with us what was the number one hits across the country, what were the kids listening to. We were able, by that science, derived from the data that rap in those days was very, very regional, but we did not have commercial radio airplay. Enter K-Day, 1580 K-Day, which 1580 now is KBLA, owned by Tavis Smiley, Dominique DePrima, Donna Michi, all to you, my former colleagues. Y'all doing a great job of keeping the people informed. But 1580 was a super AM station in Los Angeles, and K-Day. Now the call letters K-Day have been appropriated by a corporation, and then they dedicate themselves to West Coast hip hop over there. I think is that 92.5 K-Day? That's their callers. I know it's number 3 on my button list, whatever the frequency is. 93.5 K-Day. I can't remember. Anyway, and even at that, now when you listen to that station, side note, you could see how prominent Long Beach is in hip hop. Here's a commercial radio station with a very strong signal that dedicates its music profile to West Coast hip hop. Okay, so then when you turn that on and you listen for a quarter hour, you're going to hear at least 3 rappers from Long Beach. Long Beach is essential to the formation of West Coast. However, to my earlier point, it still is a lot of gangster rap driven. Yeah, they got the clean versions and stuff now, but the original tracks, come on, gangsterisms. But still, that's the story of West Coast hip hop. But when K-Day 1580 came along, they are the ones who began to really drive the sound across the region to the masses of the people. Now you can just turn on your radio and put it out there. You'll listen to it. Greg Mack, DJ Curtis Harmon, Russ Parr, J.J. Johnson. I'm trying to remember. I can't. I'm sorry. I'm having a senior moment here. I'm trying to remember the sister's name. Somebody to hit me on that chat and remember what was the female DJ's name that was really popular on K-Day. I see her face, and now I can't remember her name. Shame on me. If I remember it, I'll put it in the chat or something like that. But K-Day was a force to be reckoned with, and it was an AM station. And then they came up with the technology of AM stereo, right? And it sounded good. And this is where, rap really, really, really began to bubble up, certainly in LA. Then all of a sudden, commercial radio got a clue. Enter Power 106, 92.3 The Beat, up north KMEL. So many more radio stations, all of the stations that are up there on the campus of Berkeley. Although those were college radio stations, they were highly professionally run and were able to go ahead and make the leap. This is when you begin to hear and gain, hear the fame of the artists that are coming from our region, from our streets, South Central, Compton, Inglewood, Long Beach. This is what's going on in our world. I just think that moving forward, now rap is so commercial that the stations that used to be deemed white stations, Kiss FM, they're playing this music, right? It is a predominant portion of their playlist. So now you're hearing, the rappers, and then you're hearing Taylor Swift. You know what I'm saying? It's just really a trip to hear the music come so part of the American mainstream when it was so controversial when it first came out. But the music that is mainstream is that music that has the lyricisms that, a kid walks down the street with his boombox. I'm thinking pornography is what I'm hearing in the lyrics. I'm sorry, I might be old. Hey, no doubt, but I'm still cool. But I got a very much a critical ear towards this. I've spent my life in the industry, um, preserving and promoting Black culture through music. And I just have to say that when I listen to lyrics of compositions coming out of a young person's boombox, it's not at all like the records in generations before, where maybe there's more tact to the love interaction. Now it's yikes, what they're saying is crazy, for the public. And I'm not for censorship. And so all of these lyrics that I'm critical of, I'm not saying you need to get rid of them. You have freedom of speech, man. There's just a place where where those lyrics belong, and maybe the paradigm needs to be shifted, right? The conscious and positive lyrics in my perfect world would be at the forefront, where songs that come across the radio and my Spotify and my playlist and all the ways that we listen to music in this present time, I would like to see the music that comes across my playlist be positive and uplifting and inspirational. And then, the murder and mayhem that belongs on another channel. I'm just saying, and that's just me, old fuddy duddy. Yeah, I'm Papa though, so whatever, this is what I see. But I do think that at the end of the day, long-term exposure to these lyrics in such a highly accessible way is got to be detrimental to the mental health and the psyche of our community. I mean, I might love the music, right? But it's too much. One might adore the music, right? But you have to admit it's too much. And if this is all that you're hearing and all that you're exposing your soul to, then yes, that can result and manifest itself in bad behaviors in our community, therefore keeping us down, keeping us marginalized, keeping us right where they want us, under. I think there's a concerted effort to keep muted the positive lyrics. Yeah. I didn't mean to be on here this long. I just thinking out loud in this rainy Tuesday morning. Rain's coming down like cats and dogs outside, and I'm just on here, just really wanted to touch bases with you and begin a conversation about consciousness. And didn't mean to go on a tangent to talk about this rap music, but as you can tell, I got a lot to say about it because there's a lot around me happening with regard to this music. And there are those who want to preserve and promote the culture and the history of it, especially from, a regional perspective. But I don't think the influencers in that space really have a real context of it. And maybe they do. I don't think so, but maybe they do. I could be totally wrong. I know for me and my perspectives, and I'm going to speak it on my platform, I was there when hip hop exploded onto the scene. I watched the forces that be infiltrate our events and embrace the lowest common denominator and lift that up, the dark side up, and put our messages of Black empowerment. I saw that be diminished once those powers that be became prevalent and started attending our events and having the influence, if not the deal themselves. This is what I saw. I was there. That's why I think now we are in a cultural revolution. We're thinking so much about our government. We're thinking so much about our financial, look, the banks were failing late last week and everything. I'm banking a black bank. I had to ask them, "Are y'all all right?" And they're fine. Got a letter from the CEO, and so assuring us that everything is fine. And we pray that that's true as the nation goes through this interesting time. I see some of the bigger banks have bought the deposits of the banks that failed over the weekend or late last week. So, it is a point of concern, but, our economic empowerment as a people, as Black people, you really need to be thinking about it. What does it mean anymore? What are we doing? Are we supporting Black businesses? Are we building Black businesses? Are we supporting one another? And I think that consciousness comes from a well-rounded observation of our community from a global perspective. I think now is the time to support one another, support we see it all over social media, support Black business. I heard on the radio they're looking for Black women businesses. Enter into the contest, you could win, a lot of money and some video work, and they're gonna help you with your website, all that business empowerment stuff is happening all around us in our community. It's great. I also think that, we should turn our lens to global perspectives. That's what we're doing around here. Building bridges with Africa and African Americans is the time is now, because just like we are American descendants of slaves, and our generations, our ancestors in America went through a lot of atrocities. Freedom was hard fought, and we're still, there's a Juneteenth, we got a graphic that we put out there that says free-ish. We're free-ish in America right now, and even I know I saw Ben Crump on my news feed this morning. I need to go back and listen closely to what happened. I was just flipping through and also preparing for this little broadcast, as well as connecting with my folks back over on the continent, and wasn't able to really ingest what was going on with Ben Crump, except enough to say, here we are again watching police brutality against another unarmed Black person. But not only do we have to worry about systems of oppression around us, and this is a global phenomenon. What we experience in America is that over in Africa, the vestiges of colonialism, and global powers at work keep the people at odds with one another. While they keep the people distracted with conflicts and tribalisms, they're out over there raping the land. You're hearing so much now about the United States is trying to compete with China, and they're a big concern, and it's a big deal. And sometimes it looks like we're about to go to war again. The United States is concerned about Russia, and there's that whole Ukraine situation, and the Chinese guy went over to meet with the Russian guy, and now the news is like, they met, and people are concerned. In Africa, China is deep. They're coming with helping them build infrastructure. In Africa, Russia is deep. They're coming with concepts and processes to help with infrastructure. Oh yeah, if we would be savvy, we'd know that, yeah, they're coming with a smile, and infrastructure. They're also coming to get those mineral resources. It's did you know there's a mineral over in Africa that's only available in Africa, in Africa, that if you did not have this particular mineral, you would not be able to operate your cell phone? Coltan. Look it up, Coltan, coltan. But I think for us to have more control over our own destiny as Black people across the world, it requires us to have linkages of commerce and business, exchange, communication with our brothers and sisters in Africa. coming to understand the folkways and mores that happen when you're dealing with the various African countries, becoming educated on how do you get over there? How do you do business? What can we do? We are a consumer segment in America who are well able. Maybe you don't want to live over there. Okay, that's all good too. But create that business link so you can stay here and chill in your neighborhood and, get money, get resources, find success as a global entity. We're going to Ghana in July 22nd. We're inviting you to join our group. You can go to our website at Beach City Radio, beachcityradio.com. Click on the slide that says travel with us, and you'll get the itinerary. You'll be able to click through so that you can make payments. You can click through so that you can actually download the itinerary and share it with your family and friends. We're beginning to push upon the time that we really need to um, lock in our airline seats as a group, begin to lock in the activities that we have planned for the group over in Ghana. So time is of the essence. If you go, I'm going to leave the uh, website in the chat, Beach City Radio, beachcityradio.com, and hopefully you'll be able to join us as we go over to Ghana. We're going for the Pan African uh, Arts and Culture Festival, or better known as Panafest. This is a festival that has been taking place since the 90s, and it's making its return post COVID. Happens every 2 years. It's a big deal. People coming from all over the diaspora to experience history, to experience the essence of the rich arts and culture heritage that exists in Ghana, that beautiful West African nation. And plus, we're going to show you that Afropolitan lifestyle as we go to some of the best restaurants and eateries and establishments in that region. You're going to be surprised at how fly these places are. And the food is exquisite and the people are very nice. So get up on that. That's Beach City Radio, beachcityradio.com. Hopefully you can get with us and travel with us all the way over to Africa, July 22nd. Let me leave you with this. I'm going to play this video, and this is a good entree over into Africa, over into our trip. I'm showing you the first portion of a city tour. Our good friend, he is a expert guide. His name is Kamla. He is giving you a foundation of the history of Ghana. And it's interesting and important history to know as you begin to contemplate whether or not you want to travel with this. We're going to edit this video too. There's a QR code at the end of it that you can scan to get to the address that I just described to you, Beach City Radio, beachcityradio.com. We're going to be changing that because some reason that QR code is not working, but never fear. The the link is inside of the chat right now. Yeah, just hold on. Let me just put it in here right now. One moment, y'all. Yeah. Yeah, let me put my glasses on. How about that'll help, right? Hey, gotta be able to see. I'm still blessed though, able to see, able to walk, actually still able to still running miles, and um, a lot of us are not able in these days and time. But I want you guys to just go ahead and putting the link in the chat right now, make it a little easier for you to click through as soon as my mouse stops tripping. And yeah, you can, I hope you join us. I've been taking groups over to Africa since 2010, South Africa mostly. taking our groups now over to Ghana, West Africa. We've made some really strong connections with highly placed officials, tourism officials, arts and culture experts, and all of that. We'll be intersecting with them. But I've been taking groups over to Africa since 2010. If you know me, I'm up all things Africa. And what's interesting about this, we've even had cultural exchanges with radio professionals in Southern Africa, bringing them here to the United States, letting them tour different radio stations, and then even culminating the exchange experience by assembling inside of a recording studio in Hollywood and inviting renowned music professionals to come through and play instruments and discuss various genres of music. And it's nothing like being in a room full of African and African Americans, all in the same industry and all different types, understanding what it means when we see certain dance moves in Zulu music culture, understanding what it means when, a popular form of music in that region is called Maskandi. And then when you listen to what Maskandi is, it sounds like folk music, but the meaning of the lyrics that he or she may be singing is a lot like rap music with its bravado and its braggadocio. There's so many similarities of our cultures. You see us when you look into Africa. Yeah, so that's the situation right there. I hope you join us. I hope you come on, man. First of all, I'm going to give you a 5-star trip. I'm going to give you education. I'm going to leave you inspired to continue to build this bridge of relationship with our brothers and sisters in Africa. Check this video out. It's about 5 minutes long, and then we'll end this video. I thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for putting up with me on today. Join us. We got a lot of stuff coming up, man, that's exciting and for the culture. So continue to support us by listening, by watching, by interacting with our social media platforms, beachcityradio.com, beachcityradio.com. You can also listen to this on our Facebook page, Coffee Conversations with Greg J, Beach City Perspective, Hannibal Media Group. You'll see it all across there. Plus, you'll remix the audio, repurpose it. We put it out there as a podcast. So wherever you get your favorite podcast, you'll be able to see and hear, at least hear, the conversation that goes on. And you get that wherever you get your favorite podcast. We're bringing back the Afro Pop Radio. We did put that one on hiatus for a minute. And just as we are retooling and rebuilding our platforms, we're building something here. We're very intentional about it, very serious about it. We want to be a significant news and culture platform for everybody's welcome, but we are speaking to Black people. But everybody's welcome, of course, but we Black. Yeah. All right. Remember, y'all. Love one another. Enjoy the video.
Welcome to Ghana, and like we say, Akwaba. Akwaba is a Kan word for welcome. English is our, let's say, business language. As in every country, you have a language that you use for business. But because the English were here, and so we adopted the English as a business language. However, we have over 75 different ethnic groups in Ghana, who speaks more than 50 different languages, 50.
Wow.
And but we have some major ethnic groups. These are the Akans, A-K-A-N-S. The Akans are the largest ethnic group. The Akans can be found in the middle portion to the southern part of Ghana. And then we have the second largest ethnic group, which is the Mole Dagbani people, which can be found in the northern part of the country, which is has a common boundary with Burkina Faso. And then the third largest ethnic group, which is the one I belong to, which is the Efes. The Efes can be found in part of Ghana, southern part of Ghana, southern part of Togo, and Benin. A little bit portion of Nigeria also have the same ethnic group. Why is it so? This is because when the Europeans decided to, you know, share Africa among themselves, they did not even consult us. So they just put the boundaries based on the military power of various European countries at that time. Britain was kind of on top of the world at that time, so Britain got the beefy parts of Africa, the beefy parts, the like the fat portion, the lion's share, the better part of Africa, right? Because Britain got Nigeria. Nigeria, the other side. Nigeria has, you know, Nigeria is about one of the biggest crude oil producers in the world. And it is the most populous African nation. Okay, if you count every 3 African, the third one will be in Nigeria, right? And so they got Nigeria, they got Ghana. Ghana is very rich in gold, in diamond, in manganese, in bauxite, in cocoa, in crude oil, in timber, and the people are very nice.
Yes,
and we were under various kingdoms when the Europeans arrived here. We have the Ashanti Kingdom, the Tagumba Kingdom, the Ewe Kingdom, and all those kingdoms. Huge kingdoms, very powerful kingdoms. So when they were sharing the land, they did not take into consideration the various boundaries between various kingdoms. So they just, you know, divided the land as they like, creating a lot of confusion in Africa. Today, if you hear of, oh, African countries are fighting among themselves, there's a border dispute, there's a conflict here and there, it is because of the legacy the Europeans left behind. Wow. They created all these confusions because they cut somebody's land and gave it to somebody else, territory, and divide one family into 2 different countries. But this is our independent area called the Black Star Square. Black Star allows every Ghanaian to belong to whatever society you want to belong to. Freedom of worship is enshrined in our constitution. So we don't discriminate, whether you are Muslim, a Buddhist, a Taoist, an Africanist, we don't discriminate. You see a Muslim brother and a Christian brother eating in the same bowl. You know, we don't eat with fork and knife, we eat with our fingers. We eat in the same bowl, we can share the same room, we don't have a problem. We are so blessed, you know, in that aspect. So that's why we enshrine it in our constitution.